Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing? Excited to be back with you. And today we're going to be breaking down the 16 questions that we had for the producer direct question and answer that the producers had on Discord. So there's some really good questions that were asked. There's definitely a few that weren't quite asked that I was kind of hoping to find out, but I do feel like we got some really good stuff. Between the lore being released, the videos, the Q&A, we're getting a whole lot of really interesting information. The pre-download is available now. The review codes are out, so there's a few people out there who are actually already playing the game and have been for about 2-3 days now. There's also been a couple leaks. I'm not going to go into anything as far as leaks go. We'll find out. The review embargo, so when they're allowed to actually release their reviews, is I believe about 9 hours before the set date happens. And so again, you can, if you've already purchased it, you can download it now. You can't play it though until I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern on August 31st, which is 5 p.m. Pacific time on August 31st, which is a Thursday in about a week and a half. So this is coming up real quick. And there were some good things in this Starfield Direct kind of, again, like producer Q&A. So I didn't have a chance to actually hop on the Discord. I don't know how Discord works. It took me like 15 minutes to like get on there, try and figure out. I still couldn't figure it out. So instead I just popped on somebody's live stream and they were live streaming it as they went. It was Starfield Signal, so shout out to Luke. He's been providing some great content for all of us Starfield fans. And let's just go through these. So some really good stuff in here. A few things that are kind of obvious, not that interesting. And then there are some things that are very interesting that have kind of got my brain going in terms of like characters that I want to create and stuff like that. So, and hopefully this is big enough that you can see it. I had to like blow up my screen and whatnot, but I tried to make it so it's easy to read all of these questions here. So let's get started with question number 1. So the way that it worked is basically everybody submitted all these questions. It seems like they picked out 16 and then they would put up a question and then Will Shen and Emil Pagulero, or however you pronounce it, Will and Emil would come on and they would type up their answers. So I kind of wish that it was like a visual thing, but it was just them typing up the answers. It would be an answer, a question would pop up, and then they would just type up their answers, and then it would pop up along the Discord chat. So first question is, can we buy houses or properties in main cities? And the answer was yes. So a lot like in Skyrim, where you can have one in every city. But getting into more detail, Will says, yep, there's housing in different cities that a player can get. Some you have to purchase, and some are rewards for specific quests. So I'm curious as to which ones we'll actually be getting for quests. It could be that it's something along the lines of, so in like Skyrim, when you become the master of the College of Winterhold, you would get like the Archmage's quarters, or when you're, so like something like that. It could be similar where the cities where you'd have to like in Skyrim become like a Thane of a city and then you could purchase property. Some places they just had pre-made homes. Others you could buy property and then build on that property. So I'm curious to see what the different options are as far as that goes. Emil follows up and says, sure can. You can purchase dwelling in all major cities in the game. I don't know how many cities are considered major. We obviously have New Atlantis, Neon, and Aquila City. So that's 3 main cities. I'm curious if there's any more than just the 3 main cities. I kind of hope that there are. 3 is not a whole lot, although they are pretty diverse in terms of one being the future, one being like cyberpunk Vegas kind of thing, and then another being like Old West. I'd like to have more than 3 main cities, but we'll see what they have as far as that goes. And he also says there's at least one, so again, multiple, more than one, that you can get for completing something. A meal is kind of a tease, but again, it sounds like not just can we buy a pre-made home in every major city, but we can also earn housings or dwellings as rewards for at least one quest. So I would assume multiple quests. It probably depends on different types of factions. And again, that could be one where it's like the Archmage's quarters, or it could be where they just, hey, we bought you this house out here. When you complete the quest or something. All right, next thing. This question wasn't super interesting, but we'll go through it. So if we get the kid stuff traits, will our parents be generated based on our character's looks, or are they standard? Are there standard parents put in place? What benefits will there be? So will comes with our programmers on our new face tech. We're excited to make a function. They could try to match your custom face and then create 2 parents. So they're based on what your character looks like, although specific math is beyond me. We had similar tech in previous games. Emil follows up with, yes, totally, just like we did in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. With Fallout 3 with your dad and Fallout 4 with your son. In Starfield, if you take the kid stuff trait, your parents are based off of you. No spoilers, but I think the fans will really appreciate the actors that we got to play those roles. They just got so into it, and it's awesome. Oh yeah, and you can get ... stuff. So your parents give you gifts, which is cool. We also saw in the preview where you actually get experience just for visiting your parents, which is kind of cool. So you say hi to your mom and dad, you get a little bit of XP, maybe they give some gifts. I'm curious if it's going to be small gifts, like, hey, here's a sandwich for the road, or if they're like, hey, we bought you, maybe you have like rich parents and they buy you a spaceship. So I'll be curious to see what kind of gifts, because it could be anywhere along there. Like, here, we packed you a lunch, all the way to like, hey, we bought you a ship. We have no idea what they're going to give you. But stuff is always cool. We always love free stuff, a little bit of experience. It is kind of cool that it's based a little bit off of your character trait. So, if you're white, you'll probably have white parents. If you're black, they'll probably have black parents. If you're Asian parents, kind of that thing, I'm assuming. I'm curious as to how into it, like if it like takes like jaw lines and eye color. But it will be kind of cool that you will have your own custom parents for each playthrough that you have this character trait. And it's also nice to know that the actors got really into it. I'm not super excited about this trait. That being said, it depends on how deep it is. If there's like a good storyline that goes along with the parents and you get some sweet gifts, it could be totally worth it. Or maybe the amount of money and the amount of money that you earn and donate to your parents determines how good the prizes are or the gifts are. Because if you remember, I think that it says that the kid stuff, it's 2% of your income. So 2% of whatever you earn goes to your parents. If you're earning a lot, does that mean that you get a better gift? Or if it's like you're not getting very much, or does it matter? So that is question number 2. All right. Question number 3. For those of us who have never played a Bethesda Game Studios game, and will be starting with Starfield, what information should we know that will make the experience more impactful right from the start? How deep should we go into creating our character's backstory before we start the game? Solid question. I'm kind of a Bethesda veteran, if you will. Start with Morrowind, like way back when, 20 years ago when I was about 13, 14 years old, and here I am now. But for the old and for the new, Emil comes in with, well, we always make our games for fans both old and new, so you can jump in without ever having played a Bethesda title before. But we look at it less as playing a game and more about living in the universe we created. So settle in, go at your own pace. Pretty soon you'll learn all the systems and be adventuring through the settled systems the way you choose. As for getting into character backstory, that's entirely up to you. I'm all about that headcanon. For example, my latest character is a working schlub named Mitch Dombrowski. He's a husky, good-natured space trucker. He'll do whatever he needs to defend himself, but he'll never shoot first. He's like Han Solo's sweeter older brother. And yes, there's traits and backgrounds that support that kind of thing. Will Shen comes in with, while you do start off at the same spot, what happened before the game starts is totally up to you and your headcanon. There's a trait and a background system that lets you specify more about yourself, but you can also select an anonymous background and no traits if you want. In terms of if you've never played a Bethesda Game Studios game before, try anything. We're a simulation as well as a role-playing game, so we try and support the player doing what they want as much as we can. So this is good stuff. I do like that it's kind of like I personally am a fan of make up whatever backstory you want. Like, hey, here's the start of the game, make up whatever backstory, and then we can kind of like fill it in, and then you can play how you want. I like that a little bit more in the Bethesda games than here's who you are, here's your background, because it allows you to choose your play style so much more when you get to make up your own kind of head story. I get that some characters have specific characters. So, when you're playing The Witcher, like Geralt is a player with a specific backstory. You can kind of play how you want, but ultimately you are playing a specific character with a specific backstory. In Bethesda, especially I feel like Elder Scrolls has done this really well. Fallout did it pretty good. Fallout 4 didn't really like that because hey, you're a dad and a mom and blah, 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 blah. But I really like that, in the Elder Scrolls games, hey, it's just oh, you're a prisoner. That's it. Hey, prisoner, who are you? Why are you locked up? I don't know. Make it up. But you're a prisoner. You got to figure it out. You're on your own now. Somehow you got let loose, Oh, you finally awaken, like Morrowind. Hey, you're a prisoner. You're on a boat. You're free to go now. I don't know why, but you're free to go now. Why are you on the boat? I don't know. But hey, you're free to go now. Make it up. Oblivion, same thing. Why are you locked up? I don't know. But hey, you know what? You're getting out now. Something important's happening. Go forth. Skyrim, hey, you're trying to cross the border. Why? I don't know. No background, but, make it up. So same kind of thing here. We kind of know where we're starting. It seems like we're doing some type of extraction or mining thing, possibly on Mars, and that's where you run into the first artifact. But really your background is whatever you want your background to be. How'd you get there? I don't know. Depends on what you choose. So I like that. And I really like that it allows I'm debating on my playthrough if I want to do a do everything kind of anonymous background, no traits kind of beginning thing, or if I would rather play with a specific character playthrough. So I'm trying to decide how I want to do it because one part of me wants to just completion, go in, have one character and just do everything. But it's also fun to be cool, this is who I am. This is my motivation. This is how I approach things and to role play as that. So I'm kind of trying to decide do I want to be a super criminal neon kid, or do I want to be a religious fanatic for one of these religions? And every decision is based off of, your fundamental role playing kind of philosophy for your character. So just kind of something I'm going into, but yeah, it's open-ended. All right, next up, how will the smuggling cargo system works? Can we hide it somewhere on our ship and sell it for sell it for more currency later. All right, so Will says certain items are considered contraband. You'll need to smuggle them past the security ships that orbit. So remember, when we were entering New Atlantis, we came out of the grav jump, and then they were scanning us. So it sounds like there were ships that are circling the planet, Jemison, where New Atlantis is. They were scanning our ship. They cleared us, and then we were clear to land. Maybe if... And then it says here, Emil follows up with, there's specific items that are considered contraband, meaning they're pretty much illegal everywhere. And yes, you can hide them using special ship modules that you can purchase. So, don't get caught with those harvested organs. All right. The economy's fixed, but prices, bought and sold goods can change based off skills you choose. All right. So some interesting stuff in there. Specific items that are contraband. I would assume that this would be possibly alien technology, definitely the drugs like Aurora. It doesn't sound like they're specifically going to be scanning you for stolen goods, which is interesting. That might be something when it's more of like they're trying to arrest you, kind of like in, again, the Elder Scrolls, where it's, we'll get into the next one, but like, hey, stop, prisoner. You need to, pay for your crimes, and we're taking any stolen goods from you. So it doesn't sound like that's going to happen when they scan your ships for contraband, but it does sound like you're going to have to purchase ship upgrades in order to hide certain illegal things. So maybe you want to be a pirate that's smuggling. You're going to have to buy the specific cargo hold or whatever upgrades that's going to allow you to hide illegal items from those scanners. So maybe you're smuggling Aurora for the Ryujin Corporation out of Neon. And in order to do that, you need to purchase some type of smuggling equipment, for your ship, which is a pretty cool thought. And then the fixed economy, I think that's a good thing. The idea of being able to influence the economy in a major way based off of you, that just sounds like such a complex system. And the game already has so many different systems built into it between the ships, the building, the combat, space travel, exploration, combat, stealth, the speech checks, the skill trees and everything. Having an economy that would fluctuate based off of item, material, and procurement and creation stuff, I feel like that would just be a bit too much to keep track of. However, it does say the cost can change based off the skills you choose. So again, if you're high on a mercantile, or you're good at persuading people, that kind of speechcraft type of item skills, you'll probably be able to get some better prices and convince people to give you better deals, sell your goods for more, or buy things for cheaper. And again, it might make sense to invest in that skill trait. All right, next thing is, will there be a jail system if we committed crimes? Good question. All right, yes, you can elect to go to jail or pay a fine when you're arrested, or resist arrest and try to escape. Definitely harkens back to the Elder Scrolls. Emil follows up with, yep, the settled systems is more like Skyrim than Fallout 4's Commonwealth in that regard. You bunch of criminals. There's government and there's laws, and in a couple places we explore the themes of crime and punishment in our future universe. So I'm curious as to how that's going to go into effect. It could be that with the Rangers seem to be more like sheriffs than the Vanguard. I'm curious if the Rangers or Ryujin with the smuggling and that kind of illicit activity. I'm curious if those two are possibly going to go into it. And there's definitely going to be some gray areas. One thing Bethesda does is they do a good job a lot of the times in creating gray areas of what's good, what's bad. And a lot of the times it just depends on, hey, who is your character and how would they perceive these things? But I like that they're going to kind of play into that. And there is a multiple type of jailing or fine type of system. I'm curious to see how far they'll chase you. If you're like in the city and they're like, hey, you're under arrest. And then you're like, no, peace out. Can you like get on your ship and try and leave the planet and then they chase you out into space? I think that'd be really cool. How does the bounty system work? Because the bounties, they're based off of this system. If I remember correctly, we saw that in the thing. It was, hey, you're in this system. And then your bounty was like up at the top there. It had the bounty. So I'll be curious how they hunt you down, if they send like bounty hunters after you, or how that kind of works. It's going to be fun if you're going to do a criminal playthrough, which I'm definitely going to have like a criminal playthrough. I've already decided it. I'm going to be a bad guy. It's fun. All right. Next question. Will time pass when not playing the game? For example, will my trade routes, outposts, mining operations continue to produce, or does that only occur when actually playing? Only runs when you're actually playing, no sleeping on the job, only when actually playing. Makes perfect sense. It'd be kind of silly if you could just turn your Xbox or your computer off and then it would just continue doing the trade routes. You could basically just like set the game off, turn off your computer, and then it would keep racking up money and mining materials. It is cool though that it just continues going even when you're not actively at that base. So again, you can create that outpost, that mining outpost, and you can be like, cool, hey, you mine. I'm going to go chase this quest down for the next in-game week. And then come back and have all these supplies ready to go because we've been mining for a week in game. All right. Next question. Can you be a double agent in the game? For example, if you join United Colonies, can you also join the Crimson Fleet and give the United Colonies information? What factions have that feature if they do? Good question. All right, and Will comes back with all the playable factions can be completed independently. So what that means is you can have one playthrough where you go and do everything. And again, I'm kind of debating on if I want to do that or create individual characters. I think I'm leaning towards doing individual characters where one is a good guy, one's a bad guy, one's a religious person, one doesn't care, one's practical, one's ideological. But you can complete all of them independently. The Crimson Fleet, though, does have a storyline, does have you being an undercover agent inside the fleet on behalf of UC SysDef, a specific military branch of the United Colonies. But whether you betray the fleet or UC SysDef is a choice you get to make. So this is cool. So it sounds like there's one specific storyline at least where you get to be an undercover agent and decide who you want to help. So that's pretty cool. The next one comes with Emil. He follows up and he says, that's exactly what you can do. Infiltrate the Crimson Fleet for United Colonies. I'm assuming that's system defense. It's specific to that quest line. So there is one specific quest line that allows us to do this that we know of, that they're admitting to. In the studio, I have been half jokingly accused of referencing movies some folks have never seen because I'm old. This particular plot line inspiration was very much the movie Donnie Brasco. True story based off of an FBI agent who infiltrates the mafia. How far will you go? So how far will you go in your undercover in order to, accomplish your mission? It's a good question. I like that they have included that. I hope they didn't give away too much, but yeah. All right, next question. Depending on traits selected during character creation, will it at all be possible to play through the game in a pacifist mode without killing anyone or even potentially anything? I can't guarantee that every mission can be completed in pacifist mode, but we do have a couple of systems that can help. One system is the speech challenge game, where you can persuade someone to do something like not fight you. The speech challenge game is added in specific scripted moments, and we try to add one in to most quests where important characters confront you. So it sounds like it's going to be very hard. Well, I guess I'll finish the question first and then I'll comment. Emil follows up with, so we talked about this very on during the pre-production process. Whether or not we would fully support a non-lethal playthrough. We realized that for various reasons that wasn't totally feasible. Now that being said, there are some good non-lethal options, whether through dialogue or using non-lethal weapons. Those can be used in certain situations, honestly a lot of situations, though I couldn't comfortably say you can complete the entire game without any killing whatsoever. Settled Systems is mostly civilized, but it can be a dangerous place if you're going to go off the beaten path. You're absolutely going off the beaten path. So it makes sense. It'd be very difficult to do that. Basically, what they would have to do in order to guarantee a pacifist playthrough is they would have to say from on high, like Todd Howard himself from the very top, he would have to say, hey, every single quest line, every single mission in this game, we need to make sure that there's a way to complete this without killing anybody. If that was not specified from the very top, from the beginning, it's going to be very hard for them to say, yes, it's entirely possible. Now, it does say, like you said here, there's non-lethal options. There's a speech check game. There's a couple different options. It says there's scripted moments. So say somebody confronts you and they're like, hey, what the heck? You're trying to double cross us? You're going to die. You have the opportunity to say, hey, speech check, not my fault, diffuse the situation, and maybe you can peacefully get out of that. How likely is that? It probably depends on how good you are with your speech skills. Maybe there's other options as well. Like maybe you can bribe people or pay them off or convince them that it was the other guy, or a couple different types of options. But as far as there being a pacifist playthrough, it's going to be real hard, especially when you're talking about like angry space pilots and like religious, like extremists out there, like flying through space where there's no law, like, and aliens, like, aggressive aliens. It's going to be kind of hard to have a pacifist playthrough. I'm probably not going to do it. I think I'll probably have one where it's like defensive only. I might have one playthrough where I'm totally aggressive and just go out and I'm like, I'm killing everybody, but there might also be ones where it's like, hey, I don't want to take anyone, like, I will never shoot first. I'll shoot to defend myself, but you have different types of playthroughs. As far as being totally pacifist, it's probably gonna be hard. All right. This next question got me so excited because we actually got some details on the the main religions, and this kind of opened me up to a couple different ideas for playthroughs. So there's a huge answer here. I'm going to scroll down so you can see the whole kind of thing here. Whoop, not too far. There we go. Perfect. Trying to not have my head in the way. All right. What are the beliefs and basic history of the religions that we can join? And they point out the three main ones. So Sanctum Universum, Enlightened, and the Great Serpent. Emil. Okay. So this one. Existing in real life religions are part of the Starfield universe. So there's probably going to be Christianity, maybe some Buddhism, maybe some like Hindu or Muslim faiths, probably going to be some type of, existing faiths out there with folks of all religions and denominations out there. But we don't really focus on them. Instead, we highlight three new ones specific to the game. Sanctum Universum, the members called Universals, believe that God very much exists somewhere in the universe that a higher power is guiding us all. Specifically, they believe that humanity's ability to travel the universe and grav jump is God's way of saying, I'm out here, come find me. So to me, Universals, these are the guys where it's like they're exploring space in hopes of finding God out there. That's what it sounds like, at least. The enlightened, these folks are essentially organized atheists. They don't believe in a higher power, but they teach that human beings have to take care of each other. They practice what they preach through various community outreach programs. So these are like do-gooder organized atheists, in a sense. Like atheists, but they believe in helping people, and they probably do a lot of community outreach and volunteer stuff. All right. So that was Emil. Next off, we get Will. Now, Will, he's probably going to have more details because he is the lead quest designer. All right, so got a whole bunch here from Will. Yeah, Sanctum Universum is only a couple decades old in our timeline. So 20, 30, 40 years maybe, but it has gained a lot of prominence. They believe God is out there somewhere in the universe, and that humanity's ability to travel the stars brings us closer to God. The enlightened are an atheist group that focus on humanitarian and community work. They believe that life is something every person has to take responsibility for. So if we want to make the world, if we want the world to be a better place, we have to do it. House Varun, oh boy. So in the game, you're not really sure what the complete truth is, but the gossip among the guards is this. A colony ship sets off for a new world, making grav jumps along the way. After one of the grav jumps, one of the passenger claims he spent that time communing with a celestial entity known as the Great Serpent. What was a few seconds for everyone else was much longer for him. And he brought back a mandate which basically says, get on board or be devoured when the Great Serpent encircles the universe. Is it true? I ain't saying. So in game, you sometimes face off against the House Varun Zealots as an enemy group, and that's their motivation. I recently got the House Varun logo tattooed on my wrist, so I kind of dig them. So I love this. I absolutely love the religious aspect of this. I can already see, like, why not have an entire character playthrough based off of, you know, these kind of like religious or non-religious backgrounds. You know, if you are Sanctum Universum, you believe God is out there, you are going to explore the universe to find God. If you are enlightened, you believe that your job as enlightened is to do good to the universe. So, you know, like I could see that being a playthrough. Like I was kind of thinking about this too. Like, hey, Sanctum Universum, like if you're a hardcore universalist, it's like, hey, get out of the way. I'm exploring because it is God's will that I explore the universe. Nobody's going to get in my way of finding God in the universe. That's a very different playthrough than I'm enlightened. We're all in this together, and I am going to do good for every person as much as I can in order to make the world and the universe a better place for everyone. You know, like those are very different beliefs. And then like the Varun, like, oh, you don't believe me? Gun to your head, believe me or die. Like some very interesting playthroughs that you could have just from deciding to be one of the different religions. So I'm really excited. I'm legitimately probably going to have I think I'm going to have like a Sanctum Universum, kind of like religious extremist explorer kind of playthrough where it's just like my sole goal is to like find God in the universe and like, don't get in my way. Like, I'm not going to shoot you first, but like, don't get in my way because I'm looking for God. I think that'd just be a really fun kind of, you know, religious extremist kind of playthrough. All right. Cool. Next question. This is some good stuff. See what I mean? Like some good questions here. How many companions will we be able to recruit? Will says, there are over 20 named characters who can join your crew. 4 of them are from Constellation, have the most story and interaction with the player, but all the named characters have their own backgrounds and can follow you around and carry your stuff. So over 20, that probably means like 21, 22, 23. If it was 25, they'd probably say like 25 plus, you know. If it was 24, they'd probably say almost 25. But you figure, hey, over 20 and four with deep storylines and at least all 20, 22 or whatever of them, they're all going to have some type of backstory and background. All right. Emil follows up with over 20. And we realize that we really focus on the members of Constellation. What Will said, when we first began Starfield pre-production, we looked back at our previous games and realized how popular and effective the companions were. So they were a big priority for us. And we really want to tie them directly to the main quests. There are some big moments with, when he says them, I'm assuming that means Constellation. There are some big moments with them specifically. I should also mention that our companion voice cast is amazing. We haven't released the list yet, but you can be sure there's a lot of talented actors bringing those characters to life. Same for Constellation in general. So it sounds like they're pretty proud of, the voice acting that's been done, which you'd expect. They're going to hype it up because it's their game. But they've said multiple times how much they enjoyed the voice acting. As far as 20 plus characters, again, we got 4 who can join from Constellation, which means there's probably 15 to 20 other non-Constellation characters who can follow you around. Figure there's probably 1 or 2 per major faction. And then there's probably another half dozen just kind of floating around at the different types of, what they call those? The stations or spaceports. So you figure there's 4 in Constellation. There's probably, 1 or 2 with the Rangers, 1 or 2 with the Vanguard. There's probably 1 or 2 with the Ryujin. There's probably 1 or 2 with the Crimson Fleet. There's probably 1 or 2 with the different religious groups that you can be a part of. So you figure that's like 8 right there because there's like 8 different factions. And then maybe you've got another 8 that just kind of like float around at the different station. That's 16 plus the 4 from Constellation. That's 20. So I could kind of see that. You figure 1 or 2 for like every major faction plus Constellation plus random like mercenaries and people that hang out at the spaceports. So I like it. It would make sense that the 4 from Constellation, which is the main storyline, have the most detailed backgrounds. And honestly, that's a good number. That's a good number. I wouldn't want it to be like there's like hundreds of companions and they just like, AI generate some random, I'm mercenary Joe Bob and I've got level 1 rifle and hey, can I join your ship? It's like, all right, cool. Yeah, you're boring. It's a lot more interesting, I think, if you go to a spaceport and it's like, hey, this guy, he's a background, he's a real character, he's got a specific voice actor. I just think that makes it a little bit better. So excited about the number. I think it's good. I just hope there's some good variety in the choices. If they do have good variety in the choices and they do have just like some good chemistry, 20 is plenty. And even just 4, like, I don't know who the 4 from Constellation is. It seems like definitely Sarah Morgan, definitely Sam Coe. I don't know who the other is going to be. If it's going to be Vlad or Noel or who's the theologian guy. Anyways, we'll find out. But lots of companions. It's good stuff. All right, next question. When we assign crew members to work at our outpost, do we pay them salaries? Just pay them once. We experimented with paying them salaries, but ultimately decided just have the one-time upfront cost. There's a lot to do in Starfield. We want to minimize what the player had to constantly keep track of. Totally makes sense. I get it. Again, there's so many different systems in this game that having to like balance a budget on a weekly in-game basis, there's a difference between like the most hardcore of hardcore and having a good in-depth game. And I think that if you had to like balance a salary budget and everything, it would kind of make the game a little bit less fun because nobody likes balancing a budget. Just being honest, especially an imaginary in-game one. Like there's too many other systems to keep track of in here. He also says, yep, one-time payment, although you can use the speech challenge to negotiate over the price and some traits affect the cost. So again, depending on your character traits, depending on your speech skills, you might be able to get a better deal or a worse deal. Like say that they don't like you and they don't like you're universum and they're enlightened. They're like, dude, you're a psycho-religious person, so I'll work with you, but it's going to cost extra. Who knows? Or maybe you're the same religion, so they give you a discount. But that is cool that there's speech challenges and traits that can affect the cost. All right, next question. Will our companions level up perks? Will their perks stack with ours? So 2 different questions. All right, all crews start with a set number of perks at specific ranks. You might meet a character that's especially good at rifles. You hire them to watch your back. Or you might meet an astrodynamicist, an expert that will increase your grav jump range when assigned to your ship. Emil follows up with, they don't level up, but they come at different ranks depending on the companion. Well, we call them skills in Starfield, and they do stack with yours when relevant. So when relevant, to me, what that sounds like is specifically like ships and outposts. So if you've got like a level 2 like ship shields or whatever, and they've got a level 3, maybe that like bumps you up because it combines, because he said they stack. Or maybe it's just whichever is the better. It sounds like since he said they stack, if you've got a 1, they've got a 3, it like adds up to a level 4. Or like a 3 and a 2, you get like a level 5. That seems like it'd be most valuable on ships, which makes sense. So you can get like somebody who's an expert at that. As soon as you level, you're just getting more and more and more, which is a good thing. However, the individual skills, it sounds like, don't stack as much. So, you know, like lasers, if you're really good with like laser rifles, obviously you being good at laser rifles isn't going to affect your companion's ability to use a laser rifle. That's their specific skill. But if you're both good at astrodynamics or whatever, maybe your ship will be able to grav jump farther because you both are good at that. Some skills are there to highlight companions' backgrounds and interests, but we feel you really appreciate the ship and combat related ones. Getting a boost to shields or seeing your companions lay down fire with a weapon they're proficient in are pretty sweet moments. So again, you know, some of the main characters that can follow along with you, Sarah Morgan, Sam Coe, I think they both have level 3 in terms of firearms. I think Sarah's a level 3 with lasers. Sam is level 3 with rifles. They're going to be really valuable to like tag along with you on missions where they may have to fight. Having somebody with level 3 weapon skills is going to be very valuable to have with you. You know? All right. Next part. Our next question. What's your favorite part of the game? Emil, shipping it. Ha, ha, ha. It's probably true though. You know, they've been working on this game for like 8 years. I'm sure that in the best way, they're probably tired of it. All right. Shipping it. But seriously, because of my position, my experience is a little different. I won't speak for Will. Personally, I've seen every questline, every city, every major piece of content in the game at every stage of development. So he has been in depth in this game for like 8 years. So my answer is colored for that. For me, the real pleasure is seeing how they've all evolved into the versions they are today, the versions everyone here will play. I have a soft spot for Neon. Getting that city nailed down took a lot of work by a lot of different people, and the result is really the cyberpunk settlement I always hoped it would be. Also love all the quest lines. I think they're the best we've ever done. I really hope so too, because Bethesda's has some great quest lines through all their games. Every Bethesda game, at least that I played, between Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, all of those, they've all had incredible quest lines. Not every quest was incredible, but they've all had great ones, and every game I would say has had multiple great quest lines. If this is the best one yet, this game is going to be, home run out the park. Will follows up with, I love finding the content that I haven't seen yet or forgot about. Our game is so big that no one person is likely to have seen it all, even after our passes and levels of review. Our quests really evolve over development. It's great to see how everyone adds to them between designers, animators, voice actors, lighting, everything. So again, they're just hyped up about how the game has gone. And I do like that both of them are mentioning the quests. I think that that's one of the best things that Bethesda does is the quests and the atmosphere that they develop. So the fact that they're bringing up quests between both of them, it gives me hope that there's going to be good quest lines to follow, and it's not just going to be an open space with nothing to do. I want to have a lot of questing. I want to have between all the major factions, the main storyline, the different factions, main side quests, miscellaneous items. I want this game to have like maybe I'm pushing it here, but like 200 hours? Maybe. I know that's asking an awful lot, but like my first playthrough on Skyrim, I think it took me 120-ish hours, 130-ish hours to play through all the main quest lines and just like explore when I didn't know what to do. And, maybe if there's 100 hours of questing in here between all the major factions, that's amazing. People have kind of like theorized or guessed that the main storyline is 30 to 40 hours. If the main storyline is 30 to 40 hours, that's awesome. And then if you add on to that each of the major factions with their own storylines, again, don't know how deep they are. Some obviously more than others, but say that each major faction has another 10 to 20 hour storyline, and there's, 5, 6, 7 different ones. If you've got a 30-hour main story, and then you've got 5 more 10-hour stories, that right there is like 80 hours of storylines and questing. And then you add on just all the miscellaneous like random exploring and random events and random encounters and learning and exploration and all that kind of stuff. It would not surprise me if your first playthrough, it could take you over 100 hours to find all the things that you could do in the game. And that's before you get every little Easter egg. That could take, who knows, 200 hours. And if that's what it takes, like this game is going to be a game that we're playing for, 5-10 years down the road. Because there's no way you're going to get through 200 hours of content in a month, Even if you're playing the game as a full-time job, like, come on, that's still like months of time. So I'm very excited. And again, I just like they're talking about quest lines. And I do just have to push and say that this game does have over 200,000 lines of dialogue, which is more than double of any other game they've had in terms of lines of recorded dialogue. To me, what that tells me is there is a lot of quests, and that excites me. All right, next question. What movies or books What books or movies had a big influence on some of the quests? Will Shen says, I'm a history nerd. I listen to podcasts like Hardcore History and The History of Rome. While our game is science fiction, I know I like how historians can tell you how human beings react to extreme circumstances like war, famine, and technology breakthroughs. And you can imagine how we could react in similar circumstances in a fictional setting. So I guess in this sense, Will is kind of saying that even though this is sci-fi, he tried to take, and again, Will is the lead quest producer or designer. It sounds like he really took a lot of inspiration from learning history, actual history, and I guess more in terms of like he's saying like how humans respond in history to changes. And then he tried to implement that into the lore and the gameplay of this game. So that's good. Emil says, I'm a child of the late 70s, early 80s, fond memories of sci-fi at that time. Star Wars, OG Battlestar Galactica, Space 99, Buck Rogers, Battle Beyond the Stars, Ice Pirates. Let's not forget the classic that is Metal Storm Destruction of Jared Sin. Honestly, a lot of these, like some of these, no idea. I'm not as big of a sci-fi nerd as him. But also the much headier sci-fi stuff, like the writings of Arthur C. Clarke, Robert Heinlein, films like Contact, Interstellar, 2001: A Space Odyssey, even Event Horizon. Event Horizon, dude, that's a good movie. Like, if you want just like a spooky space sci-fi, like disturbing movie, Event Horizon is legit. Really good movie. Underrated in my opinion. In all those examples, you realize that outer space is two things: a source of mystery and wonder, sometimes terror, and two, a giant blank page you can write any story. We have a lot of stories. So I really like this answer because he's saying he is a very big sci-fi lover. And so he's taking a lot of different aspects of different types of sci-fi and has tried to implement into that game. So I really like the just the Event Horizon reference here, because like Interstellar, to me, that sounds like exploration, gravity, weird types of planets, trying to find what's out there. Maybe a little bit of like weird kind of 4-dimensional weird stuff. And then Event Horizon is like some spooky, like haunted ships. I'm not going to ruin Event Horizon, the movie, but long story short, the whole plot of that movie is a ship goes out to explore the outer reaches of space and disappears. They never hear from it. And then it randomly shows up again, like out, like off of like Saturn or something. And so they send a team out there to go find out what happened. And then there's nothing there. There's a mystery. And then it's like, and then like the ship, there's some weird stuff that happens. And one of the lines, I don't remember the exact line, is like, we do not know what is out beyond the outer reaches of space and what the ship has been through. And that's kind of the thing, is like, we don't know what is out in space. And I would love it if they would just get some real, just like a couple real creepy, spooky places. And this is an M rating. So, you know, hopefully they get a couple like really spooky derelict ships in there, because they have said there's like abandoned derelict ships. I would love to have some spooky ghost ships. All right. Next question. I hope you're enjoying this and as hyped as I am. Yeah, we are almost done. Yeah, we're basically done. Cool. Emil, or question, what are some favorite small details that add to the immersion? Emil, I think what I really love is that although humans are living in space, the aesthetic is very much NASA punk. This is a very lived in universe. You can see it everywhere. Everyone loves the sandwiches, but it's the books that are lying around, the notes on the bulletin board, the environmental storytelling that our designers and world artists are good at. So I'm a slow typer and somewhat typo obsessed. So he's just kind of like, this is when they were like typing on the Discord, and he's like, sorry, I'm typing slow. I'm trying to fix my typos. Totally love the work with our voice actors, the music, sound effects, clothes, buttons. We love buttons. Do want to mention this if you hadn't heard about it. I'm Savage. They're building a model of Frontier. The ship, all the chips, the level of detail is insane. I really look closely at our outfits. You can see seams, materials, the space suits. Constellation have the patches on their space suits. It's tied to what skills they have. Love the buttons, lots of buttons. They love the buttons. It is fun. I really like the tactile feeling of having buttons where, you know, it's not just like, hey, we're launching and it's beep, beep, beep. And then it's like, it's like click, 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 boop, boop. And you can like feel and hear the clicks. It's a good one. But anyway, so again, something they hit here, you know, the books that are lying around, notes on the bulletin boards, environmental storytelling, music, sound effects. These are the things that Bethesda is really good at. And this is what I love. Again, going back to that like creepy spaceship, like, hey, look, like there's a ship. Well, hey, like they're not responding. Do we go dock them? Let's go dock them. Get on the ship. And you get to the ship and all you see is just like a blood stain along like a hallway or something. And hey, what happened here? And then there's like an audio recording of like something spooky going on. And then you start hearing things in the hall or something. Like, I don't know, but again, like the environmental storytelling, there's going to be books lying around, computers that I'm sure you'll be able to like hack into and read emails and notes. It's all very exciting. Yeah, the detail in the ships look very detailed. Definitely excited about that. All right. And the last question, what is with the mechs? So we saw in the, one of the shorts where there was like a big mech battle. So what they say, Emil, ooh, the mechs, good one. So we showed this a bit in one of the animated shorts. The mechs are leftovers from the Colony Wars. Note, Colony War, not Colony Wars, singular. I think this was just a typo, just like trying to type too fast. Colony Wars. Whoops, sorry, not war. So I think it was just a typo. Now, both sides, Colonies and Freestar Collective, had mechs. Freestar Collective mastered them. Colony had mechs too, but they also relied on alien beasts from the Xeno Warfare Division. This we did not know about. This is fascinating. So my understanding, based off of what they're saying here, is that both sides had mechs. One had better mechs, but then the colonies had freaking like mind-controlled aliens that they were sending out. It's pretty crazy. Both were outlawed during the armistice. I'm not saying there's an old mech battleground in the game. I'm typing it, winky fakes. Mechs are not usable. They're in ruins. So again, Xeno Warfare Division, crazy. Just the thought that we had like during the Colony War, they were using like mind controlled aliens to like battle each other. And there was like mechs flying around and space wars, you know, just crazy stuff. It sounds like that's banned and we can't use the mechs. I'm sure if there were mechs, they'd be advertising it, talking about it, but and you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I'm good with it. I don't need mechs in order to be hyped about this game. If they had it, you know, they'd say it, but they don't. And that's all good. It's all good. Because we do get Xeno Warfare. Honestly, just reading all the like story and lore about all this is going to be, it's going to be awesome. So I think that's about everything. There's again, there's some really useful info in here, some really cool stuff. Let me know what your thoughts are. So if you got any comments or questions about these 16 questions, anything you want to add, anything I was wrong with, feel free to correct me. Also, let me know what you're going to be doing as a character playthrough. I'm already kind of working through a couple. Again, I'm thinking like the religious extremist person who's like explores space at all costs. I'm thinking like a neon crime kid. Maybe I'll just have someone who's just kind of like a mercenary for hire where, maybe they'll join the United Colonies. Maybe they'll be a ranger. Maybe they'll just do Constellation. They'll just kind of do a little bit of everything. That might just be an easy playthrough. But let me know if you have any good characters that you're going to role play as. So I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And until next time, Space Cadet Brian signing off.